mynews.studio.
Picture this for a moment. A single change in DNA curing a disease, or rice that can grow even during droughts. Are we talking about CRISPR reshaping our future, or just shifting the boundaries we already know?
Today is June 18th, 2025. Let's start right at the beginning. CRISPR Cas9. In just over 10 years, it's moved from a specialized lab tool to something that's impacting healthcare and agriculture. What exactly sets this technology apart?
It really comes down to precision. CRISPR lets scientists cut and change DNA at specific spots. That means we can fix mutations that cause disease or design crops with certain traits. And this isn't hypothetical. Casgevy, for example, is a CRISPR therapy that's already approved for sickle cell disease and beta thalassemia. These are blood disorders that, up until recently, had very few treatment options.
So, these approvals, are they just the beginning? How many people are actually getting access to these treatments right now?
There are around 250 clinical trials happening globally, and more than 150 are actively enrolling patients for CRISPR-based therapies. And it's not just for blood disorders. There are trials for cancers, metabolic conditions, autoimmune issues, hereditary amyloidosis, some inherited eye diseases, and muscular dystrophy as well.
That's a pretty broad range. Has the technology itself changed much since it was first introduced?
It has. Now we've got base editing and prime editing. These let us change a single DNA letter or make very precise adjustments, but with less risk of causing unintended changes elsewhere in the genome. So, more precision and more safety.
When do you think these therapies might be available to more people outside clinical trials?
It varies a lot depending on the disease and how quickly regulators move. For sickle cell and beta thalassemia, it's already starting to happen in some places. For other diseases, if trials keep progressing, we could see approvals in a few years. But access is a separate challenge.
Access, that's important. Let's switch gears to agriculture. CRISPR's reach goes beyond medicine, right?
Definitely. It's being used to create crops that can handle drought, pests, and other climate stresses. Imagine rice that needs much less water, or tomatoes that don't get certain diseases. The idea is to stabilize food production and cut down on pesticide use.
How much are local communities or farmers actually involved in these decisions? Is it still mostly happening in labs?
There is an effort to involve communities. Farmers are part of the process. They help select and test gene-edited crops. There are also public consultations and education sessions to lay out both benefits and potential risks. Local feedback actually shapes which traits get prioritized and how new crops are introduced.
That leads us straight to the ethical side. Who gets to decide which genes are edited, and how do we make sure access is fair for both treatments and crops?
Those are the tough issues. Right now, governments and scientific groups are still working on the rules, oversight, access, all of it. There's a lot of debate, especially around long-term effects and who stands to benefit first.
On that point, how do we actually know if CRISPR-edited people or crops will be safe years down the line?
For people, long-term clinical monitoring is standard. Researchers follow patients for years to watch for side effects or lasting benefits. For agriculture, there are environmental risk assessments and monitoring to see how edited genes behave in real-world fields.
What about the biggest obstacles? Even with all this progress, what stops these treatments and crops from reaching people in lower-income countries?
There are a few. Developing safe treatments takes a lot of time and money. Getting regulatory approval is slow. And the costs, for therapies and for seeds, can be too high for some health systems and small farmers. So there's a real risk that these benefits only reach wealthier regions or groups.
So huge potential, but also big challenges. Science, policy, economics, and ethics all mixed together.
Exactly. CRISPR might save millions of lives and help make food supplies more secure. But it also forces us to face difficult questions. How far should we go in editing nature? And who gets to decide?
That's where we are. Amazing promise, but a real responsibility to move carefully.
That's the picture. Thanks for joining us for today's look at CRISPR's impact on health and agriculture.
We hope you keep thinking about who benefits, who decides, and how we can shape the future together.
Thank you for listening. This episode was brought to you by mynews.studio. Try it out for free.